Welcome back, guys. It's Tuesday. Jacob's here. There he is. There is Jacob. He's apparently forgotten how to do things. So, um, but we do have good news. We'll start the show proper here in just a minute. We're back on Facebook, guys.
Yeah, finally.
We're back on Facebook. Yeah.
So for those of you that don't want to watch on YouTube, you can now watch back on Facebook. We got the name back. We got the page back. I'm back. We're back in the win column. It's just everybody's back.
Yep, we are back. Justin and Josh already over in the chat. How you guys doing tonight? Glad to have you with us. Jacob, how's everyone been?
Everybody's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Just busy, as everybody who has kids knows, or in Josh's case, you will know soon when your kid can walk and talk and do stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be, or it has been, just nonstop. I was in Washington last week for a conference. I've had Little League every Saturday for the last 2 weeks, plus other days of practice and this and the other. Usually I have practice on Tuesdays. And so now that that's all over, the holiday season's here. So summer holiday season's here. So I'll be busy here at the park, but I'll be here and be able to do stuff there. So yeah, Andrew. Me and him had a little back and forth on Facebook. I think it was Facebook about him basically was just like, hey, I don't know who needs to hear this, but power rankings are dumb. They don't mean anything. Move on with your life. To which I replied, never, basically.
Shots fired over on Facebook at Jacob. Jacob, how are the power rankings going? Did you do some more this week?
So I tried. I have been out of the loop a little bit. So I went and caught back up on some stuff. I made some small minor adjustments, but it's not ready to present just yet.
Okay.
I'll get it kind of sort of done this week, and then I'll readjust after this weekend's games, and then I will have a new version to present to you. And so, yeah, but yeah, in fact, of the last 3 United matches, I have watched 1 live, 1 half rewatched, and then because of the absolute disaster of the El Paso match, I didn't even bother to go back.
Fair enough. Well, we're here. We're back. We're ready to go. I think we should probably go ahead and jump into the show proper. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to United Front. My name, of course, is Seth Bidoff. Joining me this week, we've got the one, the only Jacob Terrell. Jacob is here after a way too long hiatus. Apparently not watching soccer, not watching anything of any importance, because there's no other sport happening at the moment. He still can't remember to unmute himself.
That's no. I remembered. I didn't say anything before I unmuted. I was just baffled by the comment, because normally I would agree with you, but since you mentioned that, if you see me looking in this general area or in this general area and reacting, it is because my Minnesota Timberwolves are still alive in the NBA playoffs. Justin, hockey is better than basketball in a lot of aspects, but my Avalanche are out, so I don't really care about it anymore. So, yeah, everything is happening.
All right.
Hi, Christina.
There's Christina.
Hello.
Yeah,
sorry,
how you doing?
I'm liking this. Seeing the chat on the screen here. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, StreamYard introduced that at some point in the past week.
Fancy.
So it looks much better with all 3 of us here, so it's not like riding up Jacob's beard.
Yeah.
Christina, who you repping over there tonight? World champs?
Oh, the 99ers, baby. The U.S. women soccer team. Yeah.
Okay, fair shout there. You got to give them credit for that. So we were just talking with Jacob. Jacob's doing well. Kids are doing well. Things might be getting back to some sort of normal for him. How are things for you? How's the family? How did everyone enjoy their weekend?
Time flies when you're having fun. Yep. I watched the game late, and my mom and sister were blowing up my phone, and I was avoiding it at all costs, but I had like 68 missed text messages, and I thought this could go either way. Either it was a great game or a horrible game. I did everything in my power to not get spoiled.
Yeah, certainly one you would have wanted to go back and watch. I mean, that being said, I think that the description of this week's show kind of sums it up a little bit, and we'll certainly get to that here in just a minute. Jacob, I was disappointed at the fact that you weren't here last week. I don't know if you listened to the show, but
I haven't even had a chance to listen to the show.
Okay, so please tell me you at least know what Rob Manfred announced last week.
I'm telling you guys. Fair. I told you. So I might know. It's just not like popping into my head the way you worded the question. I don't know. But I told you, like, I have been just so far removed from anything normal that I missed so many things. So what happened?
So last Tuesday, Rob Manfred, MLB commissioner, announced that lifetime ban no longer means lifetime ban. Death apparently ends a lifetime ban from the sport of baseball because you can no longer impact the game. So players such as Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, as well as the rest of the Chicago Black Sox, and other players who are permanently, banned from baseball, permanently ineligible list, are now eligible to be voted into the Hall of Fame. I know you're a big baseball fan. You and I are both follow our teams religiously. You and I are old enough to remember Pete Rose.
Whoa! I am not actually not to remember it live. I know of it,
yes,
because I'm a big baseball fan. But no, I was not around at that time. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. But this was the story for decades in baseball, right? Pete Rose trying to get reinstated and being banned for life for gambling. What? So did you hear about this last week, or is it?
No, that I completely missed.
All right. So what's your initial thought to guys like Pete Rose being eligible?
About damn time.
Okay.
He should have been eligible a long time ago, but baseball is, how can I word this? Baseball are the prudes of all the sports. And so they I don't know. He's a fantastic, just like Barry Bonds. I think everybody should be allowed into the Hall of Fame. They could have a little wing with PEDs or controversy or whatever. I don't know. But when you talk about the sport of baseball, you cannot talk about the sport of baseball without, one, the steroid era, and two, Pete Rose, in my opinion. And so they need to be in there in some aspect, even if it's like a discombobulated figure of their face. But yeah, it's ridiculous.
No, I do agree that baseball and other sports should still ban betting on particularly your own team, your own sport while you are an active member. I think that's fine. But the prevalence of betting and betting companies as sponsors, I know the Premier League is trying to limit the use of betting sponsors. Everton actually had to change their primary sponsor because of that. Other clubs have had to do the same as well. Is it a bit hypocritical of Major League Baseball and these other leagues to prevent players from being in the Hall of Fame or from betting in general? I mean, Ron was on the show last week. Ron said he cannot bet at all due to his position within the club. So, what's your take on that?
I mean, you're talking to a degenerate sports bettor here, so I'm all for it in all aspects, in all ways. If you even with Ron, I don't necessarily agree with the fact that he can't bet because he can't necessarily influence the outcome of a match or anything like that. So like Andrew said, betting on your own team is a different story than betting in general. So if you're Pete Rose and you're betting on the Reds to win and you're going out there and trying your hardest, you still probably shouldn't be able to do it technically, I guess. But like from a moral standpoint, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. And so, I didn't know that. I'm happy, honestly, because I thought he should have been in a long time ago. We'll see. We'll see. The Baseball Hall of Fame voting is a joke anyways, and I hate it. And so more than likely, him being eligible to be in the Hall of Fame and him getting into the Hall of Fame are two very different things. And I'll still be sitting here screaming into the void about how he should be in there because the stodgy old baseball writers will be like, no.
Rose and the rest of the permanently ineligible list will be eligible beginning in 2027 with the Baseball Classic era committee voting. So
okay,
that won't be until December of 2027, I believe. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with that. So
we finally get back in the win column. I'm finally back on the show, and we start with baseball. I'm very confused.
No, I was so, and Christina can tell you, I was so excited to talk about this last week, and I had nobody to talk to about it because this is such a massive story.
Yeah, Ron and I are both like, cool.
Yeah, I really wanted that. I was really hoping you and I was hoping David would be hanging out in the background last week, because David was not. He was coming back from a United event last week, so I didn't even get to talk to David about it.
Seth, you have my phone number. Like, you could have called and we could have chatted about it at any point in the last week, basically.
Yes, but unlike power rankings, this actually has meaning.
No, it doesn't.
No, you don't think so? Okay.
It doesn't, because they're still not going to get voted in, I bet.
The other major story from the weekend, Everton winning the final match ever at Goodison Park. We're not going to talk about who actually won the league. That doesn't matter. Everton playing the final match ever at Goodison Park.
We're getting closer, at least. At least we're talking about soccer now.
Yeah, we're
still
talking
the wrong soccer.
Wrong league, still the right soccer, right? So, but no.
Hey, I don't. Christina, do you have a Premier League team that you care about or follow?
And
let me. Okay, I was gonna say if you say Liverpool or Man City, I don't want to hear it. But anybody else?
Not particularly, no.
Okay, good. Then out of me and Seth, one of our two teams can actually win a trophy still this year. Mm-hmm. Just to point that out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's probably not going to happen. Don't worry.
No, it's not going to happen either.
but no, you can bet that tomorrow at 1:00 I will be locked on a TV somewhere. Probably my phone, not a TV, because that's where I watch 90% of my sports. But it will be locked on. I will be locked on my phone, following every kick.
That's going to be fun. Watching the promotion relegation
Tottenham.
Stuff. Yeah,
Tottenham and Man United.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, of the matchups, I think you guys could potentially beat United. They're not great. Palace beating Man City is phenomenal. Love that.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool.
That was really cool. Yeah, with all the nonsense that Tottenham went through this year, with all the stuff that Everton's gone through the past couple years, Everton are safely and well above the relegation line. So happy for that. Happy for the Moisaya to come into Everton and turn that club around. The new stadium's gonna be phenomenal next year. I cannot wait to go see it. But Justin has a point. Hi.
Okay, let me guess. We're gonna bet.
Do we really want to talk about the 3 points that we were handed? Well, I mean, yes, we do. We do want to handed. Yes, we do want to talk about those. Yeah. That's exactly the one there. So let me pull this up over here, and we will jump into our recap of this weekend's match. New Mexico United out in Orange County, California. We get starts for Chris Shakes. Thomas Among starts again. You see a couple other guys out there. This squad, you don't really know what's going to happen here. Obviously, we signed Musa in the off week, due to the red card suspension of Alex Tambakis. You also have the red card suspension from Marlon Vargas. The club, in fact, did not appeal either of those. As we talked to Ron last week, the club is only allowed so many appeals per season. So you get into this match here and you don't really know what's going to happen. Chris Shakes' 5th ever league start in the USL Championship. Obviously, we know he had a little bit of difficulty last year, and what we know now is the flu match, which Ron seemed surprised that we knew was what happened last year. Yeah, but you watched this early on, and I know I watched it live. we struggled. We struggled early in this one at the back. There were 3 giveaways, and I think at the first 30 minutes in our own defensive third, not even the defensive half, the defensive third. And Chris Shakes just stood on top of his stood on top of his head in this first half. I mean, Jacob, you're eating there. We'll go to Christina. Christina, you see the
I'm
play.
Good.
You see,
okay.
Well, I mean, even uncharacteristically, Maples.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's such a bad pass right in front of the goal. Painful. Yeah.
It was, and the past couple weeks the struggles were in the midfield, but here we see the back 4 really struggling to get the ball out. And as good as Orange County's press was in the opening 30 minutes or so, we had chances. We just did not make quality passes. I mean, Jacob, what was up with this? Was it due to the conditions of the pitch? Obviously, we know it was pouring rain during this match, and the players were slipping all over the place. But what was going so wrong in the opening half hour?
There were some costly turnovers. Yes. I didn't think it was a terrible showing in the first half hour. Like you said, we did get the ball down, create a couple chances even before the goal. It wasn't very smooth. It wasn't great. We had a bad pass here and a bad pass there. And to me, I look at it as, look, playing it out of the back is very tough, right? We've seen when playing it out of the back goes wrong at every level of soccer in the world. And when you're talking about the USL Championship, which I love, the quality is not at a USL Premier or at an English Premier League level or an MLS level or any other of these top leagues that you want to see. And we see when playing out of the back goes wrong at those leagues too. So there's going to be mistakes when you play it out of the back. That is part of the risk of playing it out of the back. We happen to have a few back-to-back-to-back there in that first half. But to me, what's more important is when we have those situations, how do we respond? Both in the moment, like how do we get back on D, Shake standing on his head, all these things. But then also like, okay, do we abandon our whole philosophy to just go long? Do we stick with it and learn from the mistakes that we've been making and change the mistakes and fix those mistakes? Or do we keep making them over and over and over again? And we won in the immediate time frame after the turnovers. Shakes comes up with a couple big saves, and the one wasn't even a save. He went out and was a defender and toe poked the ball away.
Mm-hmm. I think he's actually credited with a tackle on that one.
Yeah, and so he made a hell of a play there. He made a couple great saves, and allowed us to stay in that 0-0 deadlock until we could come through with the first handball around the 25th minute and get a lead. And then from there, we really saw Orange County kind of, they still forced us into a couple mistakes, but they also had to press a little more themselves when they had the ball, which allowed us to press and then force them into mistakes, which created other chances. So to me, I was very happy with how we reacted to that and how we reacted to those mistakes, both in the moment and then throughout the match. And yeah, we might be fortunate that Santos decided to be a whacking, waving, inflatable arm flailing tube-man on that first handball, but that's part of the game. It was a clear penalty. We capitalized on it because Maples is freaking stone cold killer up there, and that allowed us to continue to play our game even more so, and led to a 3-0 win. So to me, I mean, our level isn't perfect. It's never going to be. We're going to continue to make those mistakes. So for guys like Seth, who hates when we play out of the back because it is so dangerous like that, my advice would be, you need to embrace it, Seth, because we're still not even halfway through the season, and it's going to continue to happen. And luckily we have guys like Shakes and Timbakis and Maples and Ryden who, when they do make those mistakes, they typically don't put their head down and pout and give up a goal. They turn around and they fight back, and they still somehow keep a clean sheet even despite those mistakes.
Yeah, to Andrew's point, wasn't raining for 3 much. Yeah, you certainly couldn't tell on the broadcast. They talked about it here and there, and it definitely got worse as the match went on. But I mean, even from the opening couple minutes, guys were slipping and sliding all over this pitch. So you could tell it was wet, like it wasn't great. But yeah, watching Chris Shakes, and to be fair, and I hate to use the pun, he really hadn't gotten much of a shake at all. In league competition, filling in a couple times for Alex, obviously a couple weeks ago out with the birth of his child, and then the battery match last year. But I mean, Shakes held up really well and really made up for the mistakes that we were making at the back. And I wouldn't even attribute it so much to us necessarily playing out of the back. It was just poor passing is what it was. And Christina, like you said, it was uncharacteristic, particularly of Maples with his giveaway. Other than the press, which yes is always difficult to deal with, what did you see out of Orange County in their rotations that made it so hard for United to adjust in the first opening segment of the match?
I mean, I think it was just their speed, the pace that they were playing the game, super fast paced match. And then you throw in United's tendency as of late to just have really sloppy attempts at 1-2 touching and passing. It just really put United on our heels. We got lucky a whole lot. I feel like had it been some other teams, it would have been a scoreline closer, I think, to like the Sacramento match, or who else was Battery maybe. One, Shake's really standing on his head, but two, getting super lucky that Orange County wasn't able to capitalize on open nets more than once. I liked the pace of the game, though. I mean, as a viewer, it was pretty fun to watch. I definitely lost some years on my life with some of those turnovers. And I'm with Seth. I don't love seeing them play out of the back. It's not my favorite thing. I also don't love how United, when they finally shoot the ball, it's straight at the keeper. I mean, come on, let's get a little more creative there. I talked about pelting the goal with shots, but preferably not straight at the keeper.
Yeah, that is true. And you look at some of the shots during this one. I think there's one in particular in the second half. I think it was Lindsay that got on a break, or Among that got on a break, and just put it right at him. Basically, when you're in that situation, you have to make him work for it. Here in the 13th minute, Among goes off the crossbar. Inches away from opening it there. And what we've seen is, guys just aren't responding to loose balls. They're not responding to shorter passes that are lacking pace. And they just kind of, Coach talked about a couple weeks ago, Jacob, where we need to be better about getting to those second balls, getting to those open passes. As Among right to the keeper. But yeah, and here in this one, you see some really good things. You see the pass by Fernando. Obviously, Santos, gets called for the handball twice here on the evening. I mean, quite literally, as I said in the chat, making the pun that the match was handed to us. But I mean, I think when we got forward, Fernando played well. I think we had some guys that did some really good things. And I don't think you can take the PK taker, role away from Maples at this point. Does anyone have any disagreement? I mean,
he's our new Iceman, huh?
He must, yeah, clearly. I mean, he roots Shuttler to the spot there on the first one. The second one, Shuttler does the right way, but Talon gives such a different delivery on both of those takes that Shuttler really couldn't catch up to that second one. Were either of you a little disappointed that Fernando did not take that first shot Because obviously he stood over it for a minute before relinquishing to Talon.
No,
He did, but I wasn't like, and you could tell when Maples was walking up that Fernando wasn't surprised either. Like he was like, all right, yeah, here we go. Because he's
No.
the one player that's proven to be pretty dependable.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one, even last year when we were struggling, he
Yep.
was the one that came in and righted the ship
Mhm.
on PKs. And so no, he, as far as I'm concerned, even when Hurst is back, because he mentioned in the presser in that Omaha match that he was only the PK taker that day because Hurst wasn't there. And in my opinion, even if Hurst's there, I want Maples taking that PK. I don't know if that'll be the case or not, but that's what I want. And so, yeah, no, the dude is nails from the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is. Speaking of Greg Hurst, this is 4th straight match in a row we've been without Greg Hurst due to injury.
It was longer than that, honestly.
It feels like it. I mean, I think you throw in. There was he didn't. I don't think he played in Open Cup either. You look at the injury there. We were told it was something he'd been dealing with all season. Something had been nagging him. Are we concerned that this may turn into an injury situation like we had last year with Abu Danladi, where we just don't see him, or like it's just the club being overly cautious with Hurst and trying to keep him healthy-ish for the long run?
On the pre-show and the radio, Andy more than once said that it was going to be at least another 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know if he knows something we don't, but he said that more than once. And so I don't know, we're looking at maybe mid-June that we might see him back.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a bummer because he was on a pretty hot streak there.
Yeah, he had kind of cooled off, but I think that might have been injury related. But at the end of the day, I think I'm not concerned about him turning into an Abu Danladi situation. I'm not necessarily concerned with him by himself, right? To me, it's the greater roster issues that we have with injuries, because it seems like we've constantly had 2 or 3 or 4 guys out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned the injuries this weekend, or on the injury report. You had Tony Herbert, Dayon Harris, who we know what his issue is. Sergio Rivas out yet again, and then Greg Hurst. Chris Hurst. Greg Hurst out as well. I mean, and obviously Among has not necessarily been where we wanted it, where we would like him to be, filling in that that spot role, getting the couple starts here. Where do we go? I mean, obviously we have quite a while before the roster freeze date in September. What do we need to be concerned about about filling a necessity here? Are there 1 or 2 more signings that we need to bring in to help with a roster that we thought we had enough depth on?
I feel like even before the season started, I was questioning the number of attackers that we had. I felt like there weren't a lot of forwards. And now you throw in injuries and whatnot, and we have even fewer. But I also can't imagine them signing even more players. It's already a pretty pricey roster to begin with. But we definitely need more attacking options.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, we've talked to Itamar and Ron, and we know that this is a roster that we've spent a fair amount of money on to try to bring it together. And I feel like there's still a need here, because unless Among gets going, unless you've got someone to help fill in some of these gaps, because I can imagine Zico Bailey's going to go back out on international duty here at some point. Dayon's still out for some time, even though we've been told he's ahead of schedule. We don't know the extent of Sergio's injury. We don't know the extent of Tony's injury. I mean, I don't know. I at the back, I think we're fine. Obviously the Wright and Maples pairing has worked well so far. We saw the debut of Jay Seiss at the weekend, and he did fine. I have no complaints with how Jace did, other than the fact I hate the fact that he slipped on his first touch. I hate that for him, but I think he was fine. I don't think we have any concerns there at the back. I mean, Jacob, what do you think? I mean, obviously we're spending, we're going to try to win championships. Do we try to make a splash here in the next month or so?
I think it comes down to, like you said, we don't know the extent of these injuries, and so I think what the club does will tell us what the club does in the next month or so will tell us how worried we should be about these injuries. If nobody like Bodie Ford coming in announced on Saturday, I believe. He was a kid that we saw as a trialist in one of the preseason matches from the Barca residency, and then all of a sudden he's popping up here in a position that we don't really have an injury in. We don't have an injury to the fullbacks anyways right now. Now that Gloucester's back, but Seymour played a lot of minutes. Gloucester's already been hurt. Lindsay's played a lot of minutes. And so we see these minor little tweaks, but if we don't see anything up top, I think if Hursty's injury is more serious than they're letting on, then yes, we need another forward. I'm still happy with Among. I'm still more than happy to give him some time to get settled back in and relax a little bit. I thought he looked good in his action this last weekend. He didn't score, but I thought he came back and held up play okay. He made a dangerous run. He had that one breakaway that he probably could have finished a little bit better. I thought he should have rounded the keeper on that one, or at least tried. But at the end of the day, he was solid, I thought. And I think he'll just continue to get better as he gets more time. And then the midfield is deep already. We do have injuries, but I'm not too concerned. So is there anything that's like glaring at me that says, hey, we need to go do this right now? No. To me, it comes down to is Rivas' injury going to be something like last year where even if he comes back, he's not good? And same with Hurst. And then as far as like on the wings, I think we're okay. I think we're doing pretty good there. Notably, Vargas was not in the 18.
He got the red.
He was suspended.
Oh yeah. When was his red? Because Tambakis got the red the game before.
In the 88th minute.
Yep, from the bench.
Match. Yeah, from the bench.
Oh, the bench one. That's right.
Yeah. He told the referee "F you" when they missed the penalty on Fernando.
That makes sense. I forgot about the red one, or the one on the bench. That's another reason why. Even if I could have made it to the show last weekend, you wouldn't have wanted me because I would have been like, "What are you talking about?" I don't know. Tambakis got a red. What? So yeah, it's as long as he's healthy, as long as the core attacking pieces with the colleague Gaines, Fernando, Vargas, Bruce, I think we have enough depth up there. We don't have a lot of depth at forward at the number 9, traditional number 9 position, but we don't utilize them in a way that other clubs do. So I'm okay with Brucey getting minutes up there, Among and Hurst splitting minutes up there. Worst case scenario, like we saw Vargas and Akali kind of flip-flop there at some point. And so I'm not saying, no, we need to go get a 9. I'm not saying, no, we need to get this or that. Honestly, the one position that I think we're still the weakest in is center back, because you mentioned Maples and Ryden being fantastic, and they are, but we're one injury away or one suspension away from having to put in, I guess Seymour would be the guy that we end up putting in there, which I think is why he hasn't been playing. Like, I know Gloucester
Lindsay's
came
been
back.
in there instead.
I know Gloucester came back, but Lindsay's been over there, and I think it's because we need an emergency center back in case her or Maples or Ryden go down. Because with Herbert's injury, we're really, really thin right there. And so that's kind of the two. That's the one position that I would almost be like, hey, I think we need to bring up Hoffman from the academy team or somebody that can fill in an emergency there, because right now we're a little shy. And luckily, we don't have a lot of schedule congestion right now, especially not being in the Open Cup. And
Don't
so
let Jerry hear you say that.
Jerry's out of the Open Cup too, so he can kick rocks. And so with the lack of schedule congestion, as long as they stay healthy and out of the red card trouble, then I think we'll be all right. But that is a position that I'm kind of like, I don't know. Like we might be a little concerned there. Everything else is, I think we have enough depth still that we're okay between academy and then just the depth that we had to start the season. But yeah, I'm not panic. I'm not the dog sitting in the house on fire saying this is fine yet.
Yeah.
Another injury or another month of these guys that are injured still being out. Maybe I'm saying, okay, we need to do something. But as of right now, I'm still okay. And like I didn't get to talk about the last two losses. And I didn't watch. I never watched the El Paso match. I went back and watched the Phoenix match mostly. To me, it's a long freaking season. You're gonna have hiccups. Does it suck that they came against our two rivals? Of course it does. Are we a bad team now? No. Are they a great team now? Also no. Are we a great team now? Also no. Like we're going to get into that in just a minute with the West. Like it is going to be a dogfight for the rest of the season, and we'll have some times when we lose a couple matches in a row, and then we'll have some times where we run off 3 or 4 wins in a row like we did. That's just the nature of the beast. And so that's kind of how I've taken the last two losses before this win in stride. And partly I had to do that because I was too busy.
So Justin, we did confirm that is exactly what Marlon Vargas said. That is exactly what he said to the referee, and that's when she pulled the card. So, so we did get that confirmed, which you
so
do.
So warranted card.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Also warranted what he said. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm not
can't disagree with that. That card I would absolutely agree with. And Jacob, we could go back and ask, what did you think about Alex's red card?
I think it was a clear red. I understand I'm guessing by your guys' faces that you disagreed. Dogzo when it comes to the goalie keep coming out is I think there's a little more leniency there. Because if he doesn't make that tackle, yes, there is technically a defender between the attacker and the goal. But in a dog's, it's kind of like the offside rule, right? Technically, you can still be offside if the keeper is behind you, right? Because it's not, the way it's worded is the second to last defender, not the last field player in the offside rule. So I kind of look at it as Dogzo too. There was one player between the attacking player and the goal. If there's a field player that makes that tackle, and it's clear Dogzo because there's only the keeper back there, then you're not arguing it, right? If that's the goalie back there in the goal and a field player makes that tackle, Dogzo is clear because there's nobody else back there.
Well, I'll say the same thing that Ron said last week that I've been preaching. You have to look at the criteria for Dogzo. Directionality of play. Was he going towards goal? No. Distance from goal. He was 28, 30 yards out. Mm-hmm. You got a defender over the top, and then likelihood of him maintaining possession. With how he played the ball, the direction he played the ball, it was going towards the corner. The corner, the inline, everyone okay, but it wasn't headed towards goal. So you've got multiple criteria here that are going to say like it's not a red card. So,
I just don't appreciate Alex being so far out from goal. I mean, it already was a lost cause with him getting caught out so far, and he keeps doing that. I'll be really interested to see if he continues to push that.
He will 100% continue because that is how we play. That is,
Yep.
I don't like it.
That is how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
If he doesn't come out and make that, then that guy's one-on-one with him. I like our chances okay in that one-on-one Tambakis versus him. But
yep.
when that started, Tambakis is in an odd space of like, I think I can get there, but so if he tries to get there and fails, then this is what happens. If he comes out and he clears that ball, we're all saying, "Oh man, great play, good read, fantastic option, clear the danger," and we're moving on with our life.
No, I still wouldn't have said great play. I would have been like,
Okay.
"You lucky bastard, Alex."
So a certain somebody did text me and be like, "Wonder if Tambakis will stay in his goal now." And to that, I will say no, he will not.
No, we're not.
He never will. That's not how he plays the game, and I'm okay with it. It is frustrating, just like playing another back, right? It's infuriating to watch every once in a while. However, it is what it is.
So Justin, by this criteria here, the foul that was not called against Fernando should have been a red card. Every time a player grabs somebody from behind and throws them down should be a red card. For instead of a yellow for stopping promising attack. Pretty much any foul is going to be a red card for getting all player and no ball. So I don't know.
But by that referee's standards, you could kick a player right in the stomach in front of the goal, and that's not a red.
Yeah. No, not a red at all. So talking about this Wild West, I mean, obviously things have tightened up quite a bit. Some teams have come back from some very slow starts, Rising in El Paso among them. I mean, Jacob, you've got 6 points separating first from eighth here in the West. Is anybody really going to separate themselves at some point this season, or are we going to be stuck in this mire beating each other up while you've got Battery running away with the East?
Typical West.
If anybody does, it's us. And I'm not sure I'm confident that we do. Right? But like, you look below us, Tulsa, solid team, has flaws. San Antonio, solid team, has flaws. El Paso, solid team, has flaws. Monterey Bay, I don't even know if they're a solid team, honestly. Sacramento, decent team, has flaws. Phoenix, Vegas, Springs, Roots, Orange County, from 11 up to 1, any given day, any of those teams could beat any of the other teams there. Mm-hmm. And because of that, yeah, we're going to see just sheer chaos the majority of the time. Maybe somebody gets hot. Maybe it's us. Maybe it's Tulsa turns it around and actually plays better than I expect them to play. I don't know. I just look at the West and go, there's definitely not a Charleston or a Lou City. There's probably not a Detroit or a Rhode Island in the West that's going to be able to just separate themselves from other teams in the division. Not saying that we can't beat those teams or that we're not necessarily better than those teams. It's just when you compare those 4 teams to the rest of the East, that's not how it is in the West. And so if I had to bet money on a team running away and creating some space, it would be us. But at the same time, I'm not sure I feel like super confident with that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it. It's the West has always been so hard to predict. It always has been. And yeah, I don't know where any of these teams stand. I really don't. Like, yes, we are, 6-3-0. We haven't drawn at all, which is
6-0-3.
I'm reading across the screen that I have in front of me here, which is weird for us. It's nice to not. It's weird. It's nice to see us not, drawing at the end of matches. It's really nice not to not see that. But at the same time, you have just these inexplicable losses, these inexplicable performances against El Paso and against Rising. And then, obviously with Rising and Sacramento, you've got the red cards that came into play. And we're 1 win behind. We're 3 points behind Battery and Loudoun for Supporter Shield. Other than that, nobody in the West would be above sixth place if you were just top to bottom.
Right.
Nobody would be in the West except for us to be above sixth place. Is the East just that much better, or is it that the West, is just going to just beats each other up?
It's the same story every year. The East is top heavy. The East has always been top heavy. The East will always be top heavy. There will always be 3, 4, 5 teams in the East that are just not good that particular season. And I haven't done my tracking on East versus West lately, but I feel like it's still relatively even. I think I know early I was saying West was like running away with it, but I do think the East has caught up some, but it's still, they're not running away with it. It's still relatively even. I would take, like, if San Antonio was playing, I know they just played Charleston and got their ass handed to them, but if they're playing Lou City, if they're playing Charleston again, Charleston would, for whatever reason, always kick San Antonio's ass. And so I like some of the West teams' chances, no matter who they're playing in the East. It's just those top teams in the East are always going to pull away from the bottom teams in the East. And it'll be curious to see what, like, North Carolina, if Rhode Island can, now that they've got their home opener or home open there in Rhode Island, they can kind of make a run. Miami continues to be an interesting test case out there. So I think you have Charleston, Lou City, and maybe Detroit above everybody in the West. And then everything else I think is pretty close. And I think I would definitely take the bottom end of the West over the bottom end of the East any day.
What's wrong with Tampa Bay?
A lot. Like, well, I don't know. I don't know.
I know earlier on, I predicted Miami to not make it above, make it in double-digit points. They're there now. Miami's in double-digit points. Tampa Bay is not.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa's sitting on 4 points. Hartford sitting on 5. Yeah, Tampa, that's just inexplicable with how good they've been to where they are now. I mean, I know I keep seeing posts all over on social media with, the paper bags are making appearances. So I don't know, but we mentioned at the top of the show, power rankings really don't mean anything. But when you look at it, most of the places that do power rankings seem to have East Coast bias. Again, it goes back to, are they really that much better? Are those teams really outside of the top 4? Are they really performing that much better? Or maybe top 5 to where they should be dominating the power rankings, the eye tests?
I think we're going to see it every year where the West just beats each other up. The East looks like they're dominating. I mean, also look at how, like, who ends up winning the championship typically as of late.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rougher road to get to that final. But teams seem to be West teams seem to be better for it come championship. It'd be nice if there was a little tickler to be able to compare cross conference play to see what the head to head looks like.
Yeah, I had started a tracker. I'm updating that as we go. I mean, Jacob, do you see bias in the reporting and in the coverage and how even lower league media approaches the league?
Seth, we're 6 years into this, buddy. Me and you are 6 years into doing this podcast. We've been screaming about East Coast bias since the start. So yeah, it is. Now, I will say it's not necessarily all unwarranted. Like, there are definitely teams out east that deserve praise. Charleston, been here for a very long time, always been consistent. This year, I think is gonna. I don't think they'll run away with the East, but they are definitely going to be really good. Same with Lou City as always. Rhode Island's come in and made a bunch of noise. And so, yeah, I think those few teams have earned the bias to an extent. Tampa to an extent. Back in obviously this year they're crap, but they've never been this bad before. So, there is a bias. Sometimes it's warranted though, and I think this year it might be warranted. I do think Charleston is going to be like world beaters. I think they're going to be really, really, really freaking good. Lou City's always really good, and then you have teams like Detroit and Rhode Island who very well could be really good. And so I don't know. It's if they were hyping up like North Carolina over everybody else, I would have some issues, but they're really not. I mean, I know North Carolina was in the top 10 in the USL power rankings over on USL.com, but that, like, it, as I've learned doing these stupid power rankings and sitting there for over an hour and a half today and yesterday trying to figure out what the heck, how I wanted to put them, it was infuriating. And also super tough, like just super difficult to be like, okay, I have no idea where to put any of these teams right now. So yeah, it's just, it's there, but it's not, to me, it's not like trying to figure out where their power rankings are. So their power rankings, they've got Charleston, El Paso, Sacramento, which is bonkers, Detroit City, Miami, Lou City, Loudoun, North Carolina, New Mexico, and Tulsa. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 East and 4 West. I think that's probably appropriate with the way teams are playing right now anyways. So yes, there's bias. It's not dramatic right now though. If anything, the bias for Sacramento is where I'm like, what the hell? Like, I understand they beat the brakes off Vegas. Vegas is like up and down and probably one of the most topsy-turvy teams out west. And so I am just like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know the thing about Las Vegas, but I agree with you. And you sent us your weekly guessing game with John's top 10, and I mean I unabashedly put Sacramento at the top of his power rankings because that's what John thinks. But and to be fair, to give Sacramento some credit, they are unbeaten in 4. So I think there's something there, but I still think that they're not there. I don't think that they are a top 10 team right now.
Well, I had this conversation the last time I presented my power rankings because I had them in the top 10, and that was 3 matches ago. There is no top 10. It is the top 3 in the East, and then a jumble of people. And so, should it be 3rd? Hell no. Should it be in the top 10? Probably. But to me, power rankings are fun. Like Andrew said, like you shouldn't put a whole lot of stock into them. I look at them and go, like, if you look at the USL power rankings, you would think that Charleston was winning the East comfortably. El Paso and Sac were fighting for first place. We were somewhere in home field advantage, but not anything crazy. Miami would be, fighting for a home playoff spot. And then you go look at the standings and you're like, okay, Miami's 7th. Charleston's tied with Loudoun and 2 points ahead on Lou City. Okay. We're first in the East. El Paso
with the game in hand.
Yeah. El Paso is technically tied for 2nd. But there's 4 teams there with 16 points, and they've all played more matches than us and Tulsa. So, yeah, it's just kind of, it's a fool's errand trying to predict these things or trying to do these power rankings. And I'd much rather look at the standings and the last match or two and be like, okay, this is what's going on. I don't know. I think the best teams in the East and the worst teams in the East are probably the best and the worst teams in the league, respectively. And then the West is just right there in the middle.
Yeah, I could certainly see that.
So let me ask you guys a question. If it's not us, who in the West do you think can or will win the West? If you just had to pick one team and say if I had to bet money on it, that's who I'd bet to win the West, excluding us.
That's tough.
Yeah, I lean towards San Antonio or Tulsa. I really want to see El Paso just crash and burn real hard after what Will Cabrera is saying, that they know how to play three different ways to play soccer. So I don't want to see them succeeding. But yeah, Justin's right. They're hungry.
They are. It's still a Wilmer Cabrera-led team.
Yeah.
Which his track record isn't great. We've seen RGV teams be flirting with home field, and then all of a sudden they're barely making it as the 8th seed. And the talent for El Paso, I'm still not sure is there. And yes, I am fully aware they beat the crap out of us. I'm fully aware that they just won 3-1 in Indy, or in El Paso against Indy. I still just don't. I just don't see it still. They're good. They could win the West. They're not who I would bet on, even without the anti-El Paso bias that I have, because I will at least admit that I have an anti-El Paso, Phoenix, and Sacramento bias, and a New Mexico strong bias for New Mexico. But even if I take that out, like I wouldn't vote for them. I wouldn't bet on them to win the West. If anything, it is probably San Antonio, or maybe Sacramento, but I think Sacramento, as we get older and as the season gets longer, or as the season progresses more and more, we're going to see the age of Sacramento and their stud players, unless they have kids pop up like Jameson or Amon, then they're going to struggle, in my opinion, as we get later in the season. So I don't know. I still have quite a bit of faith in us, and very little faith in most of what's around us. The fact, like you were mentioning it, Seth, right? We've got the 3 losses. We had a red card in 2 of them. Mm-hmm. We did get dismantled by El Paso. I'll give them that. We had 4 1-goal wins, 1-0 wins in a row. We have all these injuries. We have a first year for us head coach. And if you would have told me that we had 2 games that we lost with a red card, Tambakis was suspended for a match, Hurst has been out since the beginning of April, feels like. We got knocked out of the Open Cup by El Paso. Like, if you told me all these things without showing me what has happened so far, I'd be like, man, we're probably middle of the pack in the West. We're struggling because of this new coach. And then you go to the standings and we're ahead by 2 points with a match in hand over everybody but Tulsa, as far as who's close to us anyways. And we've had all this adversity. If we get healthy and as we continue to mesh, if we add a couple players here and there, because I can almost guarantee you that at some point, I think it was let me see. Yeah, Andrew, I thought it was Andrew, says the loan market, if we need another option. He says it forward, but I think if we need an option anywhere, the loan market is there and will be utilized at some point. And so when I take all that into account and I look at where we're sitting, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good and feeling like if anybody's going to run away with the West, it's going to be us. because we haven't played our best, in my opinion. We've had adversity with injuries. We've had two losses to El Paso, or a loss and a draw, technically, if you want to get technical with it, and then a loss in PKs. But we're going to continue to get better. And you see that time after time after time with these new coaches coming in. And so, yeah, I'm thinking we're in great shape.
Yeah, I feel like we'd be, if we don't run away with it, I feel like we'd be our own worst enemy. It would be because of our own fault of not capitalizing. I also wonder if, our first, 3 matches, maybe even our first 4, felt like we were playing against teams who were just parking the bus. So it took a hot minute before we even got the opportunity to really like full out play against a team who was playing to win. So, there hasn't been that long of a window of time for Sanchez and the squad to really figure things out, when the first 4 matches were them having so much possession. It's still not being able to really score to save our lives, a lot of 1-0 wins. But it's going to take time now that teams are finally not parking the bus against us.
Yeah, I think because when we played El Paso in the home opener, Coach said he was not expecting them to come out and play like that. And so I think had teams played like they're playing now against us at the beginning of the year, we'd be wiping the floor with them, because I think that's how we prepared for the offseason to play. And then teams come in here and start doing that. And I think we have seen kind of a struggle to transition from trying to break down that low block to playing an open style soccer, or an more open style match. And I think we're going to be better for it, because inevitably, if you're going to make a run in the playoffs, or a run to the top of the West in the regular season, or maybe even a run to the Supporter Shield, you're going to have to be able to play multiple styles. And so having these teams do these two drastically different styles this early in the season, and I imagine we'll see them continue to kind of go back this way and that way and this way and that way with those styles. Eventually, teams are going to be like, okay, well, we can't beat them if they park the bus. We can't beat them if we run with them. What the hell do we do? And they'll try to figure out what they do best. If they run with us, or they think they can run with us the best, then they'll do that. If they think they have a better defense and can park the bus and have a better chance at that, then they'll do that. We'll see.
Yeah, and Justin's question, has the team been able to look like and play like a Sanchez team? I don't think so. I think, especially with injuries and him having to just be really creative with where he's, placing players. I mean, Maples in the midfield, that jumps out at me, I feel like between teams parking the bus and injuries and just odd makeups, I don't know, I feel like Sanchez hasn't really quite had a chance, and the team hasn't had a chance to really get it to click yet.
So quickly talking about the East versus West. So far this season, as long as my math is correct, the Western Conference has hosted 18 times in East versus West play. In those 18 matches, the Western Conference is 8-5-5. Now, Western Conference on the road, the Western Conference has been on the road 12 times, 3 wins, 6 losses, 3 draws. Yeah. Which brings it to 11 wins, 11 losses, and 8 draws, East versus West.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we just need a couple more draws and it'll just be 11s across the board.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah. So losing on the road, you had El Paso, Lexington, Orange County, Lexington, Oakland, and San Antonio, all losing on the road. Those teams winning on the road: El Paso, Colorado, and New Mexico.
Was that Miami?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, that was Miami. And the 3 draws go to Monterey, San Antonio, and Monterey.
That's fitting.
So what are our upcoming matches against East Coast teams?
That's a great question.
Anything in the lineup, or is that going to be significantly later in the season?
We play Pittsburgh July 4th. That's the next East Coast team, and then we turn around and play Charleston July 12th, Hartford July 30th, Lou City August 23rd.
Okay.
And then Rhode
Detroit.
Island at the end, Detroit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Detroit in there. So we have a few, but not. We have a lot like compacted into a little time frame there.
In July.
Yeah, so July we have
and that's
3.
that window where we have a ton in a row, right? Not a lot of wet rest.
So July we play July 4th, July 12th, July 26th, July 30th. So not really. I mean, we have 8 days between Pittsburgh and Charleston, then we have 2 weeks between Charleston and San Antonio. And then we have 4 days till Hartford. So, and then we have 9 or 10 days between Hartford and then the next one. So it's not super congested. We've got a quick turnaround with Hartford after San Antonio, but the rest of it is relatively spread out.
Maybe it's September that I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
I feel like whatever our match
where it got rescheduled.
Yeah. It got put on like a Sunday or something odd. Yeah. But there's going to be a lot of matches back to back.
September, we have the 6th, the 10th, the 13th. So 3 games in 7 days there. Mm-hmm. Then we have a 7-day break or a week-long break, and then we play 20th, 24th, and 28th. So 3 matches in 8 days there. So we play 3 matches in 7 days and then 3 matches in 8 days.
Yep. Yeah. So before we get there, though, we do have a match this coming weekend. United is going to stay in California, taking on Oakland Roots SC. The Oakland Alameda County Coliseum has not quite pulled the number since opening day. They haven't quite. They've missed that 20,000 mark by just a little bit. What's going on in Oakland? Someone tell me. I can't figure out what is going on in Oakland. They were on a bit of a run there, and then now they've lost 2 of 3. They're below the playoff line. What's gone right? What's gone wrong? I mean, 6 losses in their first 10 matches.
I mean, it's Oakland. Like that's just what Oakland does. Now, I will say, like their losses, their last 3 games. On the road at North Carolina, who is a solid East team. Mm-hmm. They beat San Antonio. San Antonio picked up a red card in the 89th minute, so it didn't really matter. They were still probably going to win that one. And then a 1-0 loss to Sacramento. So it's 2 things to me. It's one, it's Oakland, so they're just always going to be chaotic and up and down and hot and cold like they have been their entire USL championship existence. And then also like the West, like Oakland can go out and beat a San Antonio team in San Antonio a week after losing to Sacramento because that's just the way the West works. And so they do that. They get knocked out of the Open Cup by Tacoma Defiance. They get trounced by Rhode Island. Everything else is, I mean, they lose by 2 goals to Orange County to begin the season, and we're like, oh man, Orange County is going to be fantastic, and and then now Orange County's out of the playoff line as well. It's just chaos, man. It always is. They have a win against Tacoma, but they have a loss against Orange County. Then they have a win against Orange County. They have a win against San Antonio. They have a loss against San Antonio. They have a loss against Monterey Bay. It's just, who knows? They are what they are. It's kind of what I expected after getting rid of Johnny Rodriguez right before the season and trying to figure out what they're going to look like after that. So,
yeah, that decision still bothers me. I have no idea why they did that.
I don't know.
What is our head-to-head with them? I feel like even when they're not super great, they still seem to be sort of a challenge for us. but I don't know if that's an accurate memory.
I feel like that's probably, I don't have the number in front of me, and I'm not going to scroll
Seek
up and down and back and forth to, I can get it to you. I'm just not going to do it right now while we're on the air. But I feel like them and Monterey Bay are almost both like that with us. Like, no matter how up and down they are, they seem to bring it against us. But I think this week might be different. But I don't know. It's hard to say.
Knock on wood.
So we split the 2024 season with them, a win apiece. They beat us twice in 2023. Yeah.
Justin says 3-2-2.
Sounds right.
Oh.
Yeah. Draw and a win in 2022. So yeah. Yeah, it's a tough series for us. It has been. I think they came here and beat us. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah. We usually beat them at home and lose away.
I wonder if the squad just stayed over on the West Coast.
They didn't.
They didn't?
No.
They usually don't.
Yeah, no, they came back. They had some pictures out. I think it was today or yesterday from training. So yeah, they flew back after the match on Saturday. Yeah. The club has always done that, even with the COVID stuff. You know, the guys are traveling back and forth, which made that season all the more memorable for the effort that it took to do that. So
yeah.
And Josh's point, I feel like they always have size over us. Speed previous seasons, maybe not season. Yeah,
Who doesn't have size over us?
Every team has had size over us. I mean, that's been pretty much the deal every single season. We don't have a lot of size in terms of height. We certainly had some stockier guys, some more solid guys, but in terms of a physical size, yeah, not so much. But yeah, I don't know what to make of them this year. Inexplicable off-season moves, like you said. Johnny Rodriguez let go right before the season started. Obviously, they get out to the big home opener, 20,000 plus, but they haven't done it. They haven't been good enough. They have guys like Babacar and Jai. They've got Jurgen Damm. They've got guys that you would expect to play at a high level week in and week out, but I just don't know. I don't trust Oakland at all. They're actually worse at home than they are on the road. So it's an odd thing for a club to be in that situation. I mean, I would look at this roster and I have no idea. I mean, obviously I'd love to see Abdi do well, not against us. But it's you hate to see a team play. No, he really hasn't. He hasn't. I that is true. But you want to see him do well because he was such a favorite. But I just don't know. I honestly I don't feel threatened by this Oakland matchup. I feel like we go out there. I do feel like this is ours to win. I don't think G-Eazy is going to make a difference for them. So I don't know. I'll just throw it out there. I'm going to say 2-0. Alex is back. Another clean sheet. Get him one more closer to that record.
What are your thoughts, Christina?
I feel like we're about due for a tie, and I'm just not super confident in our team with scoring. It's on the road. It's Oakland, and I don't know. Whenever I feel confident that we're going to, beat Oakland, somehow they manage to upset us. So I know it's kind of lame, but I'm guessing a 1-1 draw.
Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're the better team. The better team doesn't always win. I do think, I like Christine's point about being due for a draw. Like we just talked about not having one yet on the season, and I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of reverts towards the mean at some point coming up. But I agree with Seth more. Like I don't think it's today, or I don't think it's this weekend. I think no matter how they come out and decide to play, that we're better at most of the positions, and it might end up being a fluky handball or something like that gets us here, or gets us there. But I think we end up winning. I should say 2-1 because that's the most obvious scoreline usually, but this season that has reverted to 1-0. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go 1-0. I think we still do to get the clean sheet, but I am curious. It is, before Orange County, we gave up 5 goals in 2 matches to our rivals there, and they decided not to park the bus and to attack. I'm very curious what Oakland decides to do there. But I think either way, if they decide to sit back, then it might be a little harder for us to score. Obviously, it will be harder for us to score, but we might have to try to figure out how we were playing against that style for a little while. And then if they do decide to press, we're kind of in that flow right now. We're kind of used to that. I could see us doing some damage there.
Well, you can't be passive at home, though, right?
I mean, you can, but you shouldn't be. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to stick with 1-0. And I think if I'm wrong in the I sold us too short category.
Okay. Off the top of my head, no. We can try to look that up, though, Andrew. So, all right. So there are predictions for this weekend against Oakland Roots SC.
Real quick. There's 6 teams that are averaging over 9,000 in the USL Championship. Can you name them?
Us.
Okay, that's an easy one.
Lou City.
Yep.
Sacramento.
Yep.
Battery.
No. No, Charleston is actually only averaging 3,600.
How about Rhode Island?
Rhode Island is averaging over 9. So you have Rhode Island, Lou City, New Mexico, and Sacramento.
Colorado Springs.
They are
Colorado Springs.
They're the next team outside of this group of 6. They're averaging 7,800.
It's not Miami. It's not Birmingham. Not Vegas.
There's
not
one in the east. There's one in the east and one in the west.
Detroit's pitch. Detroit isn't big enough.
It's pretty small. Yeah.
Yeah.
Indy.
Indy?
Andrew, I think
it is Indy.
Ulti might be right. Yeah.
It is Indy in the east. And then the number one
the
team,
west, I mean Oakland, but that's only because of their 22,000.
This is only by average. That's what we're going off of.
So are they first? Are they still averaging first in the league?
They're averaging 1,115 or 11,015 people per match.
What's our average?
9,670. Sacramento is between us and Oakland at 9,862.
I feel like we haven't had many home matches yet. I don't know.
We've had 5.
5. They've all been weekend, except for maybe one.
Omaha was no. Monterey Bay
was Open Cup.
No, Monterey Bay was a Wednesday. Omaha was that Saturday. I don't think that's included in this. I think it's just USL Championship games, but I could be wrong.
Well, yeah. Then we finally broke 11 and lost. So that's not great.
Was that the Phoenix match?
Phoenix.
Was that 11?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know. I never saw what the attendance was for that match. So glad we got over 11. That's good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was over 11. And
I'm trying to find this information for Andrew.
But I guess at least Gaines' goal near the end really gave the fans something like really to walk away thinking about, at least it ended with like a good energy. They were really pushing.
Trivia time. Did you know the Oakland Roots have a retired jersey number?
No.
Number 24. Can you guess who it's for?
Do we know this person?
Mm-hmm. You would.
I would?
Yeah. It is not a soccer player.
24.
Is it that football player that like has partial ownership?
No.
What's his name?
Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Not him. No, not beast mode.
That was his number though for a while.
Yeah.
I think. Is it a baseball player?
Uh-huh.
24 for Oakland. I have no clue.
Ricky Henderson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but it makes sense.
Yeah. I had no idea. I mean, that's I mean, I get it, but I also
So you found that out, but you can't find out the width of the pitch it calls.
It is not mentioned. At least not that I can find so far. Yeah.
Well, at least it's not turf on top of turf or track or whatever it was that first season, huh?
Yeah. No, I think it'll be a fun place to go play. I think there was a mention in the chat somewhere about this Orange County match about soft kicks not being part of the weather. I do think the ball was not traveling on that ground.
Like, I found it. I found it. It is 74 by 114. It's wider and shorter.
Mm.
A typical of pitch is 68 by 120.
Well, Sanchez wanted a wider pitch at the lab. So maybe that'll bode well for what he's envisioning for the team. And we're much better with accuracy with short passes than long balls. So maybe that'll bode well for us.
Maybe. I found it in a news article from KTVU. So, but there is one piece of news that we have not talked about yet. I can't believe we're waiting till the very end of the show. Ron teased us a little bit last week about an announcement coming out, and we got it later last week. New Mexico United has announced a new international friendly coming up June 25th. FC Juarez.
I did not know where you were going with that.
At the lab.
Me either. I was
like, and I was there last week.
I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what did I miss now?"
Yeah, Ron teased it. He did say, pay attention. So yeah, FC Juarez back at the lab. We are stealing El Paso's dance partner once again. How do you guys feel about Juarez coming back?
Obviously, I'm super thrilled because it was the first thing I thought of when you said that there were big news to be onto. So, I mean, obviously, it's just like right there at the top of my brain. No, I don't care. Like when it comes to friendlies in the middle of a season, it's still kind of a foreign concept to me as a non soccer head. As a former non-soccer head, I should say. And I'm not opposed to them. I was very excited for Cardiff.
Mm-hmm.
I was very excited for Sunderland.
Mm-hmm.
I was excited last year with FC Juarez. And the game was fantastic. It was chippy. It was high scoring. It was entertaining. So in that aspect, like I'm kind of looking forward to it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter towards what our goals are this season. And so it's still just like weird to me that we're doing that. And it's really weird to me that we're doing it against the same opponent that we did last year. Like, I feel like the whole point of those international friendlies is to bring in a new audience and help grow our fan base and the sport and everything like that. And I feel like we did that already with the Juarez fan base and don't necessarily need to do it again, especially because there were, like Justin's alluding to in the chat, there were some issues last year. Things got chippy on the pitch. I'm just not sure if that's the best move for where we're at as a club.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll sell tickets for sure. It does bring in a fan base that isn't typically following us. And if we come out and we perform like we did last year or better, or like we did in the preseason, like Andrew was alluding to, then maybe that can draw some more members in or more fans in long term. But at the end of the day, we're going to sell a lot of tickets for that match. And I think, rightly or wrongly, one, I understand the business side of it. I know we need the money. I know we need finances for everything that we do and everything like that. So in that, I think it's probably a great aspect. From a personal fan point of mine, it's kind of like, all right, whatever. Like, I'll watch it if it's available to watch. I probably won't go to it necessarily. I can't remember if I went last year or not. I don't know. But I feel like it did because I don't think it was broadcast. Was it? Maybe it was.
I want to say it was because I was able to watch
I think it
from home.
was.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I don't think I went. And so I think I don't know. I'm not excited for it, but I'm not excited for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's probably why it wasn't on the rundown, Seth.
Okay.
I feel about as excited for it as I felt about the Open Cup match against El Paso. Like, meh.
Yeah.
Y'all are just teeing him up for Jerry. I mean, the match doesn't matter, but y'all are just laying it out there, throwing Jerry a softball. You know, so then when Juarez comes in and beats us 3-0, and we get like 3 injuries, Jerry's gonna be like, ha ha.
Well, let's hope Jerry goes back into his hidey hole soon.
As long as El Paso keeps winning, that ain't happening.
It doesn't take long for him to go in the hidey hole, though. I mean,
what's funny though
Merriweather
is it's
Merriweather. It's
not even El Paso losing, or it's not even El Paso winning that's bringing him out. It's us losing.
Mm-hmm.
If we're winning and they're winning, he's mum. He doesn't say anything. But if they keep winning and we lose, then we'll hear from him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, fair enough.
I'm kind of sad that we're done with that for the year, though.
That was very strange. And I've talked to David about it. He goes, yeah, it's very strange. Why they schedule it that way, I have no idea. Looks like the only way we'll see them again this year is either potentially in the playoffs or if we both come out of the group in Jägermeister.
Well, we both have to come out of the group and then meet each other somewhere down the line because it won't be the first match.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be. Yeah, so it's very strange. It's very strange to have, that home and away series, right? They're so close together. I don't like it. I really don't. But nothing we can do about that. Josh brought up Bodie, and we talked about Bodie earlier. And then obviously the loan signing of Musa. Former San Diego State University goalkeeper, by the way. So if you follow Mountain West soccer, you'd be familiar with him. He apparently was pretty good at the collegiate level. So, but unless something serious happened to Chris Shakes, he was never going to see the pitch. And I don't think he's going to challenge for anything, like I saw mentioned across social media. He's not. Yeah, that was a short-term thing, just like Ford doesn't mean anything. So,
I think Ford is going to stick around.
No, that was just for that match.
Well, he signed an academy contract.
Not Bodie.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I was talking about Ford Parker.
Okay, yeah.
So
never mind. Yeah, no, for sure. This was a one match loan. He'll be in at AV Alta next week. I'm pretty sure this was an emergency situation where we needed a third, and that was it.
Yep.
And then maybe he pops back up. I was kind of surprised it wasn't Ford again, honestly.
Well, you can only sign players to, I think it's 1 25-day contract, but even Ford Parker was only a short-term contract. I don't even know that it was a 25-day contract. It was just for that Open Cup match. So
Ron said something to the effect of he couldn't get off work either.
Yeah, something like, with his employer even let him off work. So gotcha. A whole other thing there. But yeah, it's there was nothing there. So yeah, I think we talked about everything. I guess the foot golf tournament went really well over the weekend. Heard good things about that, so glad that went well. I don't know, anybody got any closing thoughts?
Does anybody care about Open Cup since Pittsburgh's the only one still in it?
I'll keep an eye on it. That's about it. I mean,
Yeah.
Because they had 2 matches today. Chicago beat New England, and San Jose and Portland are tied 0-0 at the half. The only remaining lower league team is Pittsburgh Riverhounds. They play Philadelphia tomorrow at 5:30 New Mexico time.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that one, but
Mhm.
you know, unless they keep going, I mean, I have no interest in the rest of Open Cup this year.
I'm happy that it's Pittsburgh though, because I will actually root for them, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
if it was Sacramento as the only one standing, or El
Yeah, it'd
Paso
be
the only one
harder.
standing, then I'd be like, screw it, MLS, kick everybody's ass. But because it's Pittsburgh, I'm like, all right, Pittsburgh, make a run.
Yep.
Make a run and have fun with it. It is weird that there's not really any cup sets going on, but it's probably because, one, we're not there, and 2, El Paso choked harder than I can't, and I'm not going to go there against Austin. And so yeah, go Pittsburgh. Other than that, I'm not super. I'll watch the final probably no matter who's in it. But I like the teams that are in it right now. I have like Minnesota is the only rooting interest that I still have.
Yeah. I'm
Maybe
rooting for the
Nashville.
Loons.
I like Nashville too, but other than that, it's kind of like, and FC Dallas. Quill winning it would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, that was the only other thing that I could think that maybe we wanted to touch base on, but that was it.
Yeah. All righty. Well, in that case, Jacob, why don't you get us out of here?
Oh man. Let me see if I can remember how to do this. First, I'd like to thank the Academy for this. Oh wait, no, sorry, wrong thing. Now, everybody in the chat, thank you guys so much. You guys make it possible, or make it fun to be here. We'd still be here talking nonsense even if you guys weren't there, but you guys bring some life and energy to it that I absolutely love. Seth and Christina, thank you for the last 2 weeks and dealing with my absenteeism, or whatever the hell you want to call it, with everything going on. Again, nothing bad, just busy. And then, yeah, just happy that we got back on the got back to our winning ways after a small hiccup. I think we're still in really good shape, like we talked about. Rosemary, thank you guys. I like she's the best. She is the best. I need to ask her if she read the last Reacher novel. But
she probably has.
I agree. But yeah, so 2 things. One, we are on Facebook right now again. So if you forgot about our Facebook page, it is back to being properly named and active again. So we'll be posting more stuff on it. As always, we were on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube so that you know. She has read it. Good. So you know when we go live and everything like that. And then if you're listening on a podcast player later in the week, please rate and review there. And one, if you are doing that, awesome, thank you. But also, you could be in the chat live right now if you wanted to. So I love when new faces pop in, and I'm sad that Christian isn't around live anymore because of the time change. We're a little too early for him to wake up over in Germany, but he's still doing good over there. So yeah, happy to be back. Thank you guys. Thank the chat. We'll be back next week, same time, same 2 places now. And hopefully we're talking about 3 points against Oakland, and looking forward to another Phoenix match, this time in the Jägermeister Cup. And so until then, guys, love y'all. Somos Unidos.
Night.